Dude, Liam's like live trolling me on Twitter while I'm talking.
Oh, I kind of want to see that.
Yo, everyone recording?
I am.
Yes.
Perfect. Then, welcome everyone to the Wano Report. Today, once again, we have the pleasure of having one of our favorite guests on for the second time, GrandLineReview.
Shucks, it is my pleasure, good sir.
How you doing?
I'm pretty good.
How's life treating you?
Life's treating me much the same as it has for the last few months, you know, being highly introverted, making videos on the internet, and taking my dog for lots of walks.
Yeah, like reaching 100k on your second channel. So
yeah, that happened as well. Thank you very much.
Yes, exciting stuff. Otherwise, of course, Morj, how you doing? Good morning.
Yeah, I'm doing okay.
Fresh out of bed?
Pretty early, yeah. For people who don't know, this report was delayed maybe 30 minutes. Like, I just kept hitting the snooze thing. It's so easy to hit snooze, but
it's dangerous.
Yeah.
You gotta put your alarm in another room, so you have to get up and walk there.
So I had a friend who had a thing, which like when he was younger, when he was like a kid, right? Like he had the best alarm clock in the world, and that it was like the worst alarm clock in the world. The way it works is basically it's like a helicopter type thing. So when the alarm goes off, it shoots off this spinny thing that will spin and fly across the room to somewhere else, and it won't turn off till. I've never seen this, but this is what he's explained to me, basically, and I believe that it works. So it spins, shoots across, goes to the other side of the room, won't turn off till you get up, walk over, turn it off. It's a terrible, terrible device, but also the most effective alarm clock you could probably ask for.
Yeah, I mean, if you really have to get up to turn your alarm off, I think, then you're actually awake.
I mean, but even when you're up, you're still like running around the room chasing this thing, right? Is there any guarantee you'll ever get it?
It's like exercise and getting up in the morning in one package at this point. But yeah, I mean, it's like as nice as it is, like having you on, Liam. Obviously, like since we're at the moment in 3 different time zones, it's always a bit of a hassle.
I understand. When you live in Australia, you're always the most inconvenient aspect of everyone's life.
Yeah, though I gotta admit, like I can't complain because for me it's like afternoon, so I guess I hit like the the most convenient time slot.
Yeah, you got the sweet spot
in a way. Yeah, no, for sure. And also happy to have you on during a break week. So I guess we are pretty free to talk about whatever once again, which is good. Considering that we're all following different slots with the release as well. Do you guys want to start off by talking about the recent chapters, or is there anything in general? Like, I think originally we planned to do this with Brago as well, because you guys did like the small video series going back and forth. So I guess that's also something we could talk about.
It wasn't intended to be a series, but yeah, whatever you're keen for.
Yeah, we can start with that if you want. So, like, what exactly what was that all about? Like, if you want to explain quickly for people who don't know.
Oh, quickly, all right. So, I think
or like take your time.
Between the two of us, I think we have like well over an hour of this discussion now in various video forms, but it's basically the old power level thing. I made this video which was fairly provocatively titled "Power Levels Don't Exist," or Common Misconceptions About Power Levels in One Piece, where I made the claim that they don't exist, and then he replied to that, and I replied to him, and it became this big old fun response train. But yeah, my thesis in the end, it kind of landed on the pavement of, I admit that power levels do technically exist, but the way that we use them commonly in the fan base, I'm not a huge fan of, particularly like the title-based systems, like, you know, Yonko level, Yonko commander level, and Brago disagrees, I guess.
Yeah, I think that would have been actually an interesting conversation to have the 4 of us, but it was even more difficult to schedule because, like, Morj is, I think, a bit more on the side with Brago there.
Yeah, and actually, GrandLine and I talked about in a larger setting with more noise.
Oh yeah, very, very briefly. We didn't get to discuss it
a little
much.
bit about it, basically, on Sensei's podcast, which you guys can check out if you like. I think it was last week. But yeah, I mean, it's the discussion will go the way it goes each time. Ohara, I saw you recently made a tweet, which I can only assume is a joke.
Oh, you mean the Ulti one?
Yeah, otherwise this whole podcast is going to be about that if it's not a joke.
No, I was serious. No, actually, like,
oh God.
I was also...
How could you
like,
be
I was
serious
on
how can you be after all this time of telling you that you don't believe power levels exist, then you go and make, like, one of the most controversial power level tweets that feels like it's based on nothing.
All right, I just found
so basically, I was also in this stream yesterday, and I was talking to Roger and Yonko Productions, and basically, like, the conversation went somewhere along the lines of, like, what you guys think of hateful comments, and like where, like, and like why are people so divisive and like hateful about certain arcs like Wano, Whole Cake Island, and so on and so forth. And I basically made the point that, hey, well, like, you have that on YouTube, of course, but Twitter is even worse, because Twitter is basically the entire platform's organized to create, diversity, because if you can create controversy, that's what people get emotional about, and that's where they, like, that's the tweets that get traction. And so what Yonko Production did, like, after I said that, he went out and, like, tweeted Hunter x Hunter is better than One Piece, and that got like 500 like 500 likes and like how many retweets in like the first 5 minutes.
6,000 as of right now.
Yeah, it's like, it was ridiculous. So it was like a live experiment, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try that as well.
I wasn't as creative. That's some Roger stuff, right? I guarantee that's something that Roger came up with. Like, just tweet some stuff to create controversy.
Oh no! It just came out like Yonko just tweeted that out of the blue, and I just saw it.
All right, I'll say, because Roger, like, the last time that I think it was a Reverie, basically he was like some similar discussion came up, and then he was like, you know what? Let's just start posting some weird power scaling stuff, and then like he would go out and post like Madara from Naruto would like lose to insert X character in One Piece or whatever, and then that just became a whole thing, and everybody in the stream started doing that. But yeah, continue. I just assumed that this was his doing again.
Nope. It was just, I think Yonko started it, and I wanted to try it as well. And I mean, it works, and it's not news really. It's like how Twitter works also for politics and like anything, because like you have like how many characters? 200 something.
They doubled it.
Not enough.
No, never mind. It's 280.
Still not
enough. It had 140 before. No.
Exactly. And like, obviously you can't have a nuanced conversation on Twitter about anything in 280 characters. So that, like, the entire system is just built that if you post something wholesome, that will definitely not get as much traction as if you post something controversial.
Dude, I really, really hate the fact that it's, because before I started doing Twitter, right, and YouTube and all of that stuff, I did Reddit. And Reddit is where you do lots of... It is the upvote, downvote system, which is not great. But I like the fact that you can type long responses and, like, link lots of stuff and stuff like that. Like, it's just a generally more discussion. It's a discussion forum, obviously. Then I get to Twitter, and it's the most frustrating thing in the world that, like just having disagreements with anybody, and then you only get 280 characters. Or you can do the thing where you, like, do multiple follow-up tweets back to back, like 1 out of 2, 2 out of 2, or like stuff
and
like
then
that,
people start replying to those multiple
tweets, and it's just like the most stupid system in the world. It's like, why am I on this side?
Then people start replying to those multiple tweets, and so you've got to keep track of all of these new threads that have developed. So you're in like 4 separate arguments at the same time.
It's like,
I gotta be honest though,
I already addressed this.
Yeah, like up to this point, like, I've really become more active on Twitter than I originally planned to. But nonetheless, like, I've always managed to withstand the lure of arguing with people on Twitter. Like, I'm never doing it just out of principle, because I see you, Morj, sometimes, occasionally.
Dude, I used to think
getting triggered by something, and I'm just like, I'm not spending like 2 hours discussing with like some weird dude who has like this opinion.
I swear to God, I used to think like you did, and then one time I got into. I blame Eric from the Red Force podcast. I argued with. He got me arguing a few times, and then Greg, the dude who runs the One Piece something, he's some One Piece official person. And then eventually it wasn't even like notable people. I just started arguing with anybody.
Yeah, that's a dangerous path. Dangerous path. That's like replying to YouTube comments. That's that kind of level.
Oh, yeah. I think I'm generally pretty good at not replying to YouTube comments unless it's something... There's just too many. Like, I'll reply once in a while.
Yeah. But I feel like YouTube's different. Like, I do think, that, like, different creators have different levels of negativity in their comments depending on their type of content and depending on their personality, of course. Mm-hmm. But, like, I do have negative comments, but, like, not in that quantity, I feel. And if I do see comments that are just, like, zero content related and zero construction related, I literally, like, it's not happened a lot, but like a couple of people who are really hateful, after I go ahead and ban those people because I feel like, okay, I lose this subscriber, but like what is really lost there if I have like a more healthy comment section?
Did you ban the guy who called you a
burners keep getting banned?
Yeah. Explains everything. Speaking of Reddit though, I'm not sure if you saw that, Liam, but like on Reddit there was like a guy who posted who made a quick intro animation and tagged, like basically offered that for the podcast as the intro, which I want to acknowledge at this point.
Oh yes.
No, I did not see that. I'm not much of a Reddit denizen.
If you want to check it out, it's on, like, I shared it on my, and I think Morj also shared it on his Twitter. So wait.
Twitter.
Yeah, let me pull up his name real quick. So
yeah. So you can check the link if you want.
It's probably no longer on the front
else.
Page, but
yeah, it got like top post on Reddit or something. So that was
nice. It was really big. It's really
and
big.
it looks fantastic. So we really do appreciate that.
No, that's something else. That's a different video Morj posted.
No, what did I? Oh no, it's somebody else's video. It's a good video.
Oh,
it was like a full hour-long recap of everything that's happened in Wano so far.
Oh, that is okay. That is the one I found. All right. Mm-hmm. Oh wow, that's kind of cool.
It's not my video, for the record. I didn't like weirdly refer to myself in third person and be like, "This guy made a video."
This guy made a beautiful video.
Such a great voice.
It's my favorite YouTuber.
Shoot, where's my direct? Oh, there we go. I haven't used Reddit in a bit. All right. His name, so he wants to be shouted out on, not wants to be, asked him, where should I shout you out, basically, outside of his Reddit account. So his Instagram is best. It is, and we'll put this in the description and everything like that, and once the animation's in the video, we'll be putting it in all of our descriptions, but it's Cruz Marquez, and yeah, go check him out on Instagram. Link is in the description below. He is responsible for the excellent animation that I can only imagine is already in the start of our video. I'm not 100% sure yet. If there's no animation in the start of this video, then
no, I think this video might not, like, I think we might do it next time.
Okay,
like, I think what's your communication with him?
So
like, did you already...
I spoke to him basically yesterday, and then he got back to me also yesterday, but I only just checked Reddit late last night, pretty much.
So probably not on this one, probably on the next one or the one after, yeah.
All right.
And like another thing we're gonna have to figure out is like if we use this intro, which I really, really love. Mm-hmm. I think we might have to. Dude, Liam's like live trolling me on Twitter while I'm talking.
Oh, I kind of want to see. Okay.
Like we're also gonna have to figure out with the intro music. Like, actually, we might do is do like a small contest or something, maybe, for a new jingle that is short enough so it fits on the intro. So we're gonna keep you guys updated on that. That might actually be interesting to make like maybe like a small giveaway contest thingy out of that.
Oh, I'm definitely gonna enter.
I didn't know your musical side.
Oh, we'll find. We'll discover it.
We'll discover it's like dum 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 dum.
Good thing I have a 50% of the
Wano
vote.
Report. I'll be up for that. Yeah. What were we talking about? Oh yeah.
Oddly enough, this all spawned from a power scaling discussion, I think. Which I think this is how all power scaling discussions should go. This is quite enjoyable.
Right, I agree.
I will say just to wrap that up. Brago and I do agree on one very, very key thing, which is that there's nothing inherently wrong with power scaling itself. It's just that the conversations tend to almost always delve into the toxic realm, which is why I'm very adverse to them.
Yeah. And I can definitely agree with that.
Power scaling should be kept to Twitter, because then you can actually benefit from it, as we just stated.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, if we could keep all power scaling to Twitter from now on, that would be fine.
Oh yeah. I mean, like, one thing I'm quickly gonna throw in. I think you, Morj, already know my take on this. Like, I personally am somewhere a bit in the middle. Like, I do believe that, obviously, it's not impossible to rank certain groups of people and to say, okay, obviously, like, to say something very basic, obviously a Yonko will be stronger than, I don't know, like a marine captain, right? I think, like, there's no debate there. But I also do agree that I think there's, like, just because you're in one group of people doesn't mean you're automatically stronger than someone in another group. And I also do believe that there are possible, like, triangle relationships where, like, one, like, for example, Big Mom might lose to Kaido, but then she might beat, I don't know, Shanks, or she might beat, like, this is, like, hypothetical, right?
Scissors,
like,
paper, rock theory.
Actually, no. I'm gonna tweet that right now. Wait. But you know my point. Like, I feel like powers should make a difference, and, like, it's similar. Like, Luffy was able to beat Enel based on the compatibility of their devil fruit powers and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
so I do feel
the thing about that, though, is I think that, like, look, I think some series emphasize those triangle type relationships more than One Piece does. I think the example, like Luffy versus Enel, there's a reason that everybody always brings that up, because that was a very, very blatant and rare example of that actually being the case, where it's specifically the matchup that allowed Luffy to win when nobody else could win. Whereas I think those are generally in One Piece more so the exception than the norm. Like, I don't think there's any I can't think of anything recently, like, in the New World, like, in terms of significant matchups where we can actually say, beyond, like, headcanon, that, oh, it's a triangle type relationship, that's the reason that, like, Luffy beat Doflamingo, but this character, Luffy versus Doflamingo is controversial, but you get what I'm saying.
It'd be the reason why Luffy beat
the example
Cracker,
you're bringing
though.
up with the Yonko, like, that's, to me, that's headcanon, where I think, like, my bet would be that Oda probably thinks that Kaido's just stronger than Big Mom, and that's the way that it's been portrayed. I know people don't like the word portrayal or whatever, but, like, I think most people would bet that Kaido's stronger than Big Mom.
Wait, what? Wait, why do people not like the word portrayal?
Because some people kind of spin it as like it, and I guess to be fair, portrayal is vague. I think you would have to actually, like, if you're making an argument based on portrayal, then you would actually have to do it kind of in video format, where you can actually link lots of panels and get across the idea of, okay, this is why I feel like the portrayal is the way it is.
Yeah, and
whereas,
a lot of it would be purely aesthetic.
Otherwise, it's just like, what are you talking about? Like, what's the portrayal mean, you know?
Yeah, what's your take?
Learn to English. Learn to English. I use portrayal in probably, I think, every video I make, but videos I make aren't generally skewed towards, like, being portrayed as this kind of strong. I think my main problem with... I keep saying my main problem. I think one of my main problems with this whole power scaling business is, like I said, the titles, because to me it kind of skews the intended meaning of the titles. Like, I feel like, honestly, one of the only reasons why Luffy isn't 100% accepted as an Emperor of the Sea is because of the existence of Yonko level in the fanbase. And it puts that kind of perverse spin on it, like being a Yonko is all about strength rather than every other factor that goes into it.
I agree. That's actually, and I feel like that's an aspect, I'm glad you brought that up. I feel like that's something that gets not even lost, never gets brought up in most conversation, like you said. There's so many factors playing into that, like, influence, like number of people you have behind you, how much of a threat you are to the world government. It's like people assuming, like, it's the same people that assume, like, Dragon's the strongest character because he has the highest bounty. Like, no, like, obviously it's because he's politically the biggest threat to the world government right now. Not saying he's not strong, but, like, that's definitely not the only factor at play here.
It's all about how you're portrayed in the public eye. For example, like, by Big News Morgan's portraying Luffy as this, much more villainous threat than he is in reality. That's led to the perception that he is an emperor.
Yeah, and I mean, the same is true for Big Mom, for example. Like, when we first met her, like, I remember, like, it was implied that Big Mom eats eats people, right? The first time we see this panel of her and like people screaming and her putting something in her mouth, and only later we found out that that's actually like her homie sweets that she's eating. And people were disappointed. Oh, well, like, why isn't she the monster we thought she was? And that's exactly the point Oda's trying to make there. Like, oh yeah, like literally media portrayal makes a difference.
Yeah, but the thing is with the Emperor sort of thing, right? So with the Emperor title, like, I think that's getting a little bit away from what being the Emperor of the Sea means, right? So Morgan's putting him up as that because technically based on his feats, it sounds like Luffy could, Luffy seems to have gotten to a point where he should be being acknowledged as an emperor. But the idea of being an emperor of the sea, or one of the 4 emperors, and like what separates that from being other pirates, is that these are the pirates that can claim to rule the sea, and that's because other emperors can't take them down, right? Like they position, at least that was the dynamic with the previous 4, right? So Whitebeard, Shanks, Kaido, Big Mom, it sounded like they were all at a big stalemate. It's the same reason that like Kaido tries to move on Whitebeard, but Shanks can step in and say, no. Right? So the reason that Luffy, like, strength does matter, at least in my opinion, for the validity of Luffy's title as Emperor, like, just because Morgan's is saying so, like, we even have that panel of Shanks saying, like, it seems like you're almost at the point of being a great pirate, but not quite there, right? Because the reality is that Luffy, part of Luffy's, sorry, what?
Sorry, I didn't mean to derail you. Like, are you referring to, like, the panel after Shanks sees his new bounty, the chapter?
Yeah, basically. And like same with Blackbeard and stuff like
Blackbeard,
that. Like, there was general dismissiveness.
Blackbeard, I'll grant you it does say that, but all Shanks says, like, because I've had this argument with a lot of people, so I know this panel quite well. All Shanks says is, looks like we'll be meeting soon, Luffy. That's like literally it. Yes. There's no dismissive nature at all. It's just, I guess he did it. I'll see him soon.
Oh, are you saying, like, to me that was definitely not basically like, oh, Luffy's made it. It's more so like Luffy's almost there. He's on the cusp. And I think that was the vibe of the general.
That's very interesting because to me it sounds like Shanks is being very accepting, whilst Blackbeard is obviously being dismissive, as is Big Mom and Kaido whenever the topic comes up around them. But Shanks just seems so chill, and he's like, yeah, that's my boy. He did it. To me, anyway.
But then story-wise, the next thing that we do get is like Kaido also being dismissive of him. And I think at that point in the story, the portrayal does seem to be that, like, 1, Blackbeard's dismissive, 2, Kaido's dismissive, 3, at least my interpretation of that Shanks line is, okay, you're almost there. It's not like, oh, it's time to come meet me.
Yeah, but I don't know.
And like, again, that's going back to like basically what I'm saying, which is that, like, being an emperor of the sea, part of it means that basically you are on par with the other emperors of the sea, because that's what makes it like an even stalemate. And a lot of that does come down to the idea that Luffy as an emperor is on the same level as the other emperors. And I do wonder basically what we're going to get to see of the alliance versus Kaido's forces, alliance versus Big Mom's forces. Because again, like Emperor of the Sea, the influence and stuff, a lot of it does come down to that. But if the reality is that you as a military force in the sea are nowhere comparable to the other emperors to the point you could call it a stalemate, then that title is probably not that valid just yet. So I view it as this arc, Luffy actually having to get to that level, but the portrayal so far being basically he's not there yet.
Yeah, I think we just have very different beliefs on what makes an emperor. You're thinking, and quite rightfully as well, I can't fault it, like very logically about it, what you need to sustain that position. And I think if we were talking about anybody who wasn't Luffy, that would be accurate. But Luffy is this like really bizarre, fateful force of chaos that I think can hold up with what he has before. I mean, none of them have taken him down, except Kaido, I guess, but not publicly. And I'm also not sure how much stock we should be putting in the words of people like Kaido and Blackbeard and Big Mom, because in the end they are all arrogant villains who are going to be undone by that attitude.
I agree, and that's how others have viewed, Luffy in the past as well. But then I think Luffy does ultimately have to prove something to them, to like with Crocodile, Doflamingo and stuff. And then like, how much do you want to put on Morgans to be declaring who's the next emperor of this?
But then the question, Morj, is still like going with my example of Big Mom earlier. I do also like. I mean, Blackbeard might be a bit different, but also there's not so much we know about him. And like there might still be a lot said about him that might turn out to be a bit different than we thought originally. in reality. And the same goes for Kaido. Like, Kaido was also introduced, similar as Big Mom was introduced as this monster-eating people, Kaido was introduced as this unbeatable force of nature, the strongest creature alive. And like now we're finding out, oh no, he actually, he lost to Odin, kind of, or he was cut by Odin, and he does seem to have, he doesn't seem to be this grunt with his club. He actually does seem to be, or have a somewhat more complex and interesting personality, right? And so
yeah, but that's character-based stuff, and I agree that character type thing is. Sorry.
Oh yeah, 100%. No, my point was just like I feel people forget that not only Luffy has been hyped up, publicly for us and for the people in the One Piece world, but like that goes for all the Yonko, in my opinion.
Yes,
I agree.
Maybe with the exception of Shanks.
There's like one interesting panel that Oda did a couple times. Basically, was the first time that Shanks and Whitebeard met. The first thing that they did was split the sky, and then the next time, the first thing that Kaido and Big Mom did when they met was split the sky. And those are the two meetings we've seen between Yonko and the series so far.
And the first thing that Blackbeard did
it's not even
when
about
he met
the strength
Luffy,
feat of it.
Yeah.
It's not even about the strength feat of it, right? To me, that's like a significant moment that Oda seems to write in when characters of that caliber, essentially, who are like literally emperors of the sea, meet, which is just the sense that there's this otherworldly, other sort of level type of nature to them, right? And I'm not even comparing to like admirals and all that stuff, basically. I'm just saying, like, among pirates, Oda very specifically chose to say when these two characters meet, like, literally the heavens split. Like, that's how big of a deal this is. So yeah, you can spin it as like, Whitebeard was old, Kaido, he's probably not undefeatable and stuff like that. But like, to me, at least when I see Oda writing these emperors together, it does feel like they are in a category of their own so far among pirates, at least, basically. And Luffy is clearly like the news can write what it wants, but he's not getting this type of portrayal, basically, when he's face to face with another emperor. That's my view, basically.
You're only seeing that with the benefit of like the audience perspective, though. Whereas I look at it more from his world renownedness, the people back in like Fuchsia Village or Shell's Town who are just getting all of this insane news and going, holy crap, he's an emperor.
I mean, yeah, you can say a different, like, basically, like, if the news says he's an emperor, he's an emperor. I guess you could go with that mentality, but then also, like, you can look at the bounties and stuff like that.
I mean, it comes kind of down to the question whether you say a Yonko is a title, like, that's based on your reputation, or a Yonko is a title based on your power. I guess, like, that's what basically it comes down to, right?
Yeah, I mean, and again, I think, at least from the first half of the series, the image, okay, so my full thought process when Luffy was first declared 5th Emperor of the Sea was basically, cool, he's the 5th Emperor of the Sea. The panels with Blackbeard and Shanks were kind of like, okay, whatever. At least to me, it's cool that Luffy's been declared 5th Emperor, and it felt really satisfying at the end of Whole Cake Island and all of that stuff. Then once we got through basically the first act of Wano, it had ended the way that it did, especially with Kaido talking down to Luffy as though he's literally no different than Kid. To me, that was Oda basically putting things into perspective and saying, no, that's not the case. And everything since then has also gone towards that. Again, with Kaido, Big Mom, the sky splitting, then also the bounty reveals and everything like that. To me, like, the fact that the Marines didn't even put, Luffy's bounty up there with those 4, that's also part of that portrayal that Luffy is not yet being put into that category by people that matter. So Morgans can start spinning it like that, and I think that's a nice segue towards the end of the arc when Luffy, will have done something much different. Probably his bounty will be much higher. Probably some of the emperors will be gone. But I still don't think that basically, story-wise, we're meant to yet feel that Luffy truly is an emperor, just that he's now in the conversation. I think there's a distinction.
I agree with you narratively. We're not supposed to feel like he's on the level of at least those individuals. I would personally argue that the people who matter, though, are the general public, because no one has the power to, bestow the title of Emperor. No Fleet Admiral, not even Big News Morgans. If it wasn't for all of Luffy's mountain of achievements, he could not have pulled that off. Like, it just feels natural.
Yeah, I agree with that. I guess it's just like, what do you weight more, kind of in that sense, basically?
The public view for the title, that is.
Okay, there we go. For me, it's like, at least the definition that I had felt from pre-time skip, which was basically being at a stalemate with the other emperors to be able to rule the sea, kind of.
Maybe we should create two categories, a public emperor and a private emperor.
That I think we've talked through this subject pretty good. Ohara, you got any closing thoughts?
Nope. I think we kind of exhausted that topic for sure.
I will say one more thing if I can. In the end,
Yeah, sure, go for it.
none of this matters anyway. We can talk about this for half an hour like we have, but Luffy doesn't even want to be an emperor. He's going for the
really
Pirate King, so
yeah.
this is all just irrelevant.
Yep. All right. This is what happens when there's no chapter. Although, I mean, there was literally nothing toxic about that conversation, I felt.
No, I really enjoyed your thoughts.
Toxic. Don't really remember. Do we have anything about the chapter we want to talk about?
No, I don't think anything happened in the last chapter, right?
Nothing happened. Do we have a Yamato spec?
Oh shit! I was muted. I was like talking.
Sorry, yeah, I was just waiting for some ideas. I was like,
stop ignoring me.
No, this has definitely happened with you before.
Yeah, no, but like, what are your thoughts on Yamato and everything, Liam? That'd actually be interesting to hear.
I'm kind of in a weird zone of neutrality. 'Cause I really enjoy the way he was introduced, like mirroring Kaido's move, except on a like more mini scale, right down to like the way it was presented on page actually. Because Kaido got like a 2-page spread, and Yamato gets like a third of a page. It's very cool. The thing I like most about him though is how much he evokes Odin, and how weirdly that kind of looks next to Momonosuke, who evokes Kaido with his dragon form. I don't know, he raises so many questions that I don't have a solid opinion. Whenever I think about Yamato, it's like putting my hand in water. I can't really grasp onto anything.
I like that phrase.
Yeah, no, and I mean, like I jokingly always say Yamato for Straw Hat, half jokingly I'd say. But yeah, obviously like we don't really know anything about him yet. But like, just the introduction was very well done in general, I feel.
Yes. I would agree.
Otherwise, are you, as some people point out, disappointed by the Flying Six so far?
Really?
Oh, not at all.
Disappointed by the Flying Six. I thought they're the.
Sorry,
Wait,
you go.
Oh
no, sorry. I don't even have a thought. I was just surprised.
Oh, there's people complaining, you know, like Sasaki got tied up and Ulti and page 1 got taken out and everything. Like,
Yeah, I got into a slight Twitter discussion, we'll call it, about this with Roger, particularly about the Sasaki thing with Denjiro, which I think I understand if people are disappointed by that, but like Ulti in page 1
really?
in the last...
Why though?
Just because, you know,
like,
they were probably expecting him to be some sort of tough, fighty guy.
But I mean, what do you... but like, they didn't even get the chance to fight, right? Like,
I know.
Trusted
like,
Kyoshiro, like, 100%.
I'm completely on your side, but I can see it from their perspective. Like, oh, big, tough guy. He's gonna fight something.
Enough,
punch. And then when it doesn't turn out that way and he gets used for comedy, and then that's, you know, the great dichotomy of One Piece that consistently disappoints people. But then again, when we get to this chapter and there's just this phenomenal action with Ulti in page 1, like, I was completely satisfied by that.
Yeah, the Ulti page 1 fight was like the best fight since Sanji versus page 1. I mean, we actually haven't had too many fights in Wano, period.
That's
right?
true, actually.
I'm trying to think back, basically.
Well, to be fair, I really like Big Mom versus Queen, even though that wasn't a proper fight. That was more very one-sided.
It was good fun,
I guess
though.
choreography was. Yeah, I thought Luffy versus Ulti / page 1 was, you know, for One Piece, I thought it was pretty good choreography.
It was fantastic. I was like dwelling on the pages of like Luffy grabbing her horns and then flipping her over, then doing the thing with page 1. It was like
very unlike Luffy, actually.
Yeah, we had JD on last week and he was talking about how, and it was a good point, I hadn't really thought about it, was basically like Luffy did that feint when he jumped up off of page 1's nose,
and then appeared below him.
Snout. Yeah, it wasn't, it's just generally not, as Ohara said, it's not how Luffy normally fights. It was cool to see for sure. And I also, like, side note, I really like the fact that he seems able to access Gear 4th a little more casually now. At least I think, you know, maybe it's not true, but I don't think I personally think that the fact that he was willing to use it there, and he used it on the ship that when was it, with Kid and Law and everything like that towards the beginning of the arc very casually. It didn't seem to be, drained of hockey or, collapsing or whatever. To me, that does seem to indicate that Luffy might be able to use Gear 4 a little more freely now, which I really look forward to.
Yep. Should we can actually delve into questions if you guys like, and I think they're...
Can I just say one more very quick thing before you do that? I remember the last time I was on the Wano Report. Well, I'm going to say it anyway, so screw you.
What? No, go.
The last time I was on the Wano Report, I vividly remember you asking me what I was looking for, and I say something like, not dinosaurs. And then in this chapter, we have another dinosaur. That is all.
Not a T-Rex, though.
No, but it's like, I'm uncultured swine, but they all look the same to me.
Do you think that they're all going to be dinosaurs at this point? Let's exclude the saber-toothed tiger. Like, Ohara, you were talking about Sasaki, the butterfly theory, basically. Do you still think that, or do you think that it's more likely a dinosaur at this point?
I still do, like, same as Liam, I still hope to see more normal, quote-unquote, normal zones. But at this point, like, since Ulti now is a dinosaur as well, I feel like it gets very likely that they all have some kind of ancient zones theme.
3 out of 6 now.
Yeah, odds aren't looking good for non-ancient types, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I do like the choice for Ulti. I think it's very fitting. I think you, Morj, are always a big, what's a good term? You're a big advocate for devil fruits fitting their character's personality.
Yeah, she does fit.
So I think that does fit. On the other hand, you could, I guess, say that Page 1's fruit doesn't fit his character at all.
No, I don't really know. Okay, one thing, I don't really know too much about the Spinosaurus, short of Jurassic Park 3, which was one of the scariest movies I saw when I was a kid. But that's a side note. Page 1, I don't really know what it means that he is a Spinosaurus. Is a Spinosaur like a scavenger? I don't really know. I don't know how that thing...
I think Liam is the dinosaur expert. So.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. I call it a Spinosaurus. I don't know if that's how you would pronounce it.
Okay, so I think
because it likes spinach.
Spinosaurus is basically it's a bigger T-Rex, I think, or a smaller T-Rex. I'm not sure.
Based on Jurassic Park 3, it was a bigger T-Rex.
Yes, but I'm not sure how accurate that is because Jurassic Park is not known for its dino accuracy.
No, I love how Jurassic World, I don't know if any of you guys have seen that one.
Yeah, sure.
But they abandoned the concept of just having dinosaurs, and they were like, we'll just invent a new dinosaur. And then at that
point... it comes down to the next point. It comes down to the same thing.
What? Look, it's just like at that point, why are you doing Jurassic Park, though? Why don't you just make, like, Pacific Rim 3 or something? Like, it's just a totally different movie than if you're just making up dinosaurs.
Okay, but wasn't the argument, quote unquote, the moral argument that you shouldn't, put stuff together in like a pseudo dinosaur thingy? Wasn't that the argument that like the normal dinosaurs are better?
Yes, kind of. But that was Jurassic Park.
No, wasn't the Jurassic World like with the raptors and like the T-Rex at the end fighting the thing, and then the...
You just described Jurassic Park.
You did.
Isn't that the first part of Jurassic with the albino thingy? Like, right? That's Jurassic World.
I'll be honest, I don't remember Jurassic World that well. So if you
were talking
about a moral argument of it, then it went over my head for sure. I thought you were talking about Jurassic Park.
No, Jurassic World, like the one where they stitch together that one dinosaur.
I mean, the overarching theme about Jurassic everything is that you should just let things be natural, I think. Dinosaurs went extinct. Let it happen. Dead. Just let them go. Let them go, Oda. Let them go.
I feel like if we could bring dinosaurs back, I think we should though. I think that's cool.
Have you not seen Jurassic Park? Did we not just have this discussion?
I don't care. I don't care.
Remembers the moral arguments from each of the Jurassic Park movies.
Does it anyway.
Still on board.
Yeah. Okay. Who wants to pick the very first question? I'm gonna pick one I really like. A guy called GrandLineReview.
Sounds like a wanker.
Is asking why I'm so late with the questions. Well, because I'm a very spontaneous person. It's like one of my biggest strengths.
Yeah, I think honestly, personally, it's more fun asking for the questions and like seeing them populate as we're doing the report. Because if you ask the questions beforehand, then I don't know, it's less of a surprise. It's more fun to answer them on the spot.
I feel like that's true, but at the same time, it kind of implies that people have to be very fast with answering.
Well, yeah.
I mean, yeah, you gave them like a half an hour window.
Yeah, right.
And we get worse and worse with it as it goes on. I mean, today we were pretty good, but like sometimes it's, let's answer some questions. Oh shoot, okay, do you want to post the question thread or should I? Just doing it literally in real time.
What's this? I like this question. What's your guilty pleasure anime, manga, or hentai?
I saw that one and I was like, one of these is not like the others.
I'm sorry. Can we only pick one?
No, one each, I think.
One each.
No, I'm just kidding. Choose one.
All right, I'll take hentai. Okay. So I guess I'll start real quick. I'm gonna skip hentai. Anime, manga, guilty pleasure anime. I don't know why I said anime.
Anime. You sound like my mother.
Anime. Very British. Very British. It's like anime.
It's a guilty pleasure manga. Oh, it was there was one called Gamblefish that I liked a lot when it was like in its early days, but it gets kind of ridiculous. It's like all sorts of wacky gambling situations with like higher and higher stakes and like less and less reasonable outcomes, and it's also middle schoolers because that's just the way that those series work pretty much, but they all look and act like adults.
Yep.
Gamblefish, and I guess Fairy Tail.
Oh, that is guilty.
But
guilty as charged.
That's about it. And then anime, I don't really watch because I actually don't watch too many anime. If I'm watching an anime, it's not gonna be a guilty pleasure. It'll be one that I like. That's about it.
You want to go, Liam? Or are you still thinking?
Just scrolling through all the hentai on my computer to pick it.
Okay, fuck, which is the best one? Can't decide.
My guilty pleasure.
Which one am I not proud of? Yeah.
Working down my top 100.
Which one could I call a guilty pleasure?
That would be...
No, these are all gold.
My guilty pleasure for anime, I think, would be Dragon Ball Super.
That's actually my pick too.
Yeah, good of you to copy me. When that was when that was airing, I was aware that what I was seeing was not good, but I didn't care because I just really enjoyed seeing, the whole gang back together. Goku's here, Krillin's here, 17, 18, etc. Like, there was very little about Super that I would call
that sounds like my experience with Game of Thrones Season 8. That's how it felt. Like, I know this is bad, but everyone's here and there's dragons.
Exactly, yeah. Season 8 of Game of Thrones, yeah. It's the Dragon Ball Super of the live-action world.
Well, can I say, okay, how did you feel about the first time we saw Golden Shenron? Because I actually thought that was a cool scene, first time that we saw Golden Shenron. Maybe I was, like, blinded by just being very open to accepting whatever new Dragon Ball stuff was coming up, but I was like, this is cool.
Yeah.
I like that arc where there was those two guys who were fused together.
Zamasu.
Yes, I kind of like that arc. I don't know, everything I was like, okay, I kind of like it.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Dragon Ball going all weird with time. I didn't enjoy when they became a big floating face. I thought that was strange.
Oh, towards the very end?
Yeah, of that arc.
Yeah.
It's not as if there was nothing redeeming about Dragon Ball Super. There were tons of great moments, especially like comic-based moments. It was really enjoyable. It was just, it's far from what Dragon Ball was.
And because I wasn't treating it seriously, I wasn't super invested. I just liked keeping up with it. I liked skipping around a lot to the quote-unquote good fights, basically. I think the moment that I realized so I skipped a lot of the bad stuff. I think the moment that I realized that this was definitely in the guilty pleasure category was when we got Jiren's backstory.
Yeah.
When that happened, I was like, all right, this is not a good series, and never was.
It took you quite a while to get there.
It took me up till then. I was just excusing everything. I was like, okay, animation is in parts cool, some parts of this are cool. It's kind of like classic Dragon Ball. But at that point, it was just like...
Here's the thing, there's nothing wrong with that, because I still really enjoyed like all 130 episodes of it there was. It just... That's why it's a guilty pleasure, because I know it's not good, but I love it.
And Ohara?
I have no opinion on Dragon Ball since I've never seen it. But
you have no guilty pleasure?
Oh, I do have guilty pleasure. I will go, since I'm not I'm kind of the inverse of you, Morj. Like, I watch definitely more anime than I read manga. And like only recently have I gotten into more stories. So I wouldn't say I have like a guilty pleasure manga, but I definitely do have a couple of guilty pleasure anime. I would say like my top one is probably Shokugeki no Soma.
I was thinking about that too.
I love that. Like I don't know, the food looks great, and like I don't know. Like I know per se it's not the most fleshed out story, but I love that.
But I've heard it was a good series for like a part, and then it got bad at some. It was one of those, you know.
I don't know. It kind of got bad, but at the same time, I love it.
It was really consistent. It inspired me to cook more, and I've actually made several dishes from the actual series.
Same.
They weren't anywhere near as good, but it was really interesting stuff.
I mean,
same.
Food and that, I think everybody knows the joke. Maybe I'm totally off base on this, but I'm pretty sure it's like the food there literally makes people orgasm.
It's implied to.
Yeah,
it literally blows their clothes off if it's good enough.
Yeah, literally it blows their clothes off, yeah.
I was like, wait, let me check myself before I say this, because otherwise it sounds weird.
No, Morj, that was the Morj's favorite hentai.
It gets accidentally revealed my guilty pleasure hint.
It gets
but yeah, I mean there's a bunch of for sure. I'm thinking like I'm 100% sure I watched more anime that would probably be considered guilty pleasure. Like just from the top of my head, I couldn't come up with one right now. But I'm pretty sure there must be some.
One Piece.
Yeah,
guilty pleasure for sure.
Absolutely. It's enjoyable. It's just, it makes me sigh.
It's just...
Imagine making videos about that.
Yeah, I've gone so deep.
I know, right? I used to do anime reviews, but they became so negative that I just had to stop, because every week it would just be me pointing out every like second of filler that had happened, and it would just be a filler recap, really. Like 10 minutes of identifying what should not have been in the episode.
I mean, I'm thankful for One Piece. I hope that gets more track. Do you guys know One Piece?
One Piece is the first way I completed watching the Dressrosa arc. I didn't finish it in the actual like anime. I definitely read it weekly, but I never watched the whole thing when it was airing until One Piece, and it was actually kind of enjoyable.
I mean, because the arc is enjoyable if you cut out all of the stuff that the anime kind of wants to force in there. But I do hope that gets more traction. I wish in a weird way that just became the norm for people to start, at least for the New World. At least for the New World, just watch One Piece, and it could, I don't know, save the One Piece anime a lot of flack.
I actually just thought of another guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that counts 100% because I genuinely feel that the story is great. But did you guys watch Kill la Kill?
Yes.
No.
Oh, that's not guilty at all, sir. You are.
That's not guilty pleasure.
A denizen of high culture.
So that was actually like the first episode I saw. I was like, okay, what the hell is this? And
I've
like
seen
the more I watched, it gets so good. Like at the beginning, the first episode, it feels like this has zero world building and zero structure, and it just blows your mind. Like it's really great.
It's so well constructed.
The art style, and I just remember from that first episode, honestly, from the first scene, which is like a guy busting into the classroom and he's huge or something.
Gamagori.
Like the art style and the general feel of that was really, really, maybe I just wasn't like hooked on the idea of it enough to keep watching.
It was very unique, yeah.
But yeah, I was like,
I think it's the same guy that's gonna do the same guy's gonna produce the steampunk anime on Netflix, I think.
Yeah, it was Trigger, wasn't it? Yeah, like the same like team that started on Gurren Lagann and also did Promare movie.
Exactly.
Yeah, they have a very
I think so.
beautiful signature
I've never
style.
seen Gurren Lagann. Is that good?
Yes.
Like
sorry,
up good.
Don't know what I did just then. I would call it one of my favorite anime series of all time. Like, and I would credit it as the thing that took me from being a depressed teenager to a wide-eyed optimist.
Okay. All right, I'll actually definitely give it a try at some point then.
Next question, please. or more awkward silence. I'm good for
Yeah, I was like, I don't really know what else to say.
I clicked off the questions.
Yeah.
Morj, I'm gonna let you pick the next one, or like actually,
you're gonna let me pick the next one, as if I want to pick the next one.
It's like
as
passive aggressively gonna force you to.
Stressful for me to pick a question. All right, let me pick one real quick.
Can I really? May I?
Oh yeah, let's do this. Ohara, in your Shanks video, you said Shanks may die against Blackbeard. If he died without meeting Luffy, what will Luffy and your reaction be?
I think I wouldn't like it if Shanks dies before meeting Luffy. I do think it's a possibility though that Shanks dies while meeting Luffy.
Wow, so like a high and then die.
Oh, I can't imagine. Like I'm not saying that's 100%, but like I think there's a possibility that either. I think like the two biggest theories are that either Elbaf is going to be Shanks' arc, right, and then they're going to move on to Raftel. Mm-hmm. Or the other theory I also like is that Shanks is going to, like Shanks and Buggy and so on and so forth, are going to be going to accompany Luffy to Raftel. Or at least going to guide him there. And that, like, since Blackbeard obviously has to be on Raftel, in my opinion, like that could happen, that they travel there together, Blackbeard's there, Shanks like tries to, I don't know, stand off against Blackbeard and like gets killed.
I love the idea of Shanks dying and not meeting Luffy. I'm just gonna put that out there. I think, like, I obviously don't love it. It's an incredibly morbid, but it feels like pretty solid tragedy, and also an excuse for Luffy not to give the Straw Hat back to Shanks and to kind of maybe keep it going through the generations. I do think that Shanks will probably be killed by Blackbeard or a Blackbeard-related incident, though.
Or a Blackbeard-related incident. Yeah. No, I think that would be really, really interesting if Shanks were to die before meeting Luffy. Like, it's one of those things that's... I just don't know if it's going to happen, because it's one of those things that just feels so...
It's One Piece.
Yeah, that, you know what I mean? It's like...
It would definitely be an Ace moment, yeah.
Yeah, because, yeah. Well, with Ace, at least Luffy got to save Ace for a moment, kind of.
But I mean, it still, like, doesn't... So I know, for me personally, I feel like arguably that made it even more morbid than if he had been executed. Like, him actually managing to save Ace and then losing him anyway.
You're right. That was worse, definitely. That was definitely worse. Man, that was wild. That was
actually,
reading that weekly was wild.
Actually, Liam, like, now that you said it, I think I would actually agree with you. Like, from a storytelling, like, okay, so from a personal perspective, I would actually hate it if Luffy didn't get to meet Shanks, obviously. But, like, you're right, from a storytelling perspective, that would be very, very well-written tragedy, I would say.
Yeah.
Shakespearean.
Very Shakespearean.
I just don't know. I don't know if Oda would go that route. At least the route that I think is possible is basically something like, what is it? Yeah, the route that I think is maybe more likely to me is something along the lines of Luffy meeting Shanks, him actually returning the hat, basically, and then there being a stretch towards the end of the journey, kind of, where hopefully Luffy faces some sort of difficulties or obstacles or something like that during this period of time. Blackbeard does kill Shanks, and then I think it would be a pretty big moment if basically when Luffy comes back and picks the hat back up from, I don't know, from Shanks' corpse, literally, or something like that. But basically, like I'm saying, I think it'd be interesting if there's like a brief period of... Well, that's not as bad, I think, as never meeting Shanks.
I think that Luffy is going to meet Shanks' rotting corpse and take his hat.
I do think it would just be cool, basically, if, like, Luffy... There's a period of time where Luffy, in the story, is not Straw Hat Luffy, and that actually is... maybe where, I don't know, maybe he gets beaten to the punch at Raftel or something like that, or, I don't know, something more difficult in his journey happens during that time. And then I do think symbolically it would be cool if, like, after his mentor is dead and stuff, then Luffy picks up the hat and becomes Dry-Eyed Luffy again.
And it's just
That's
the no-head pirates.
Yeah, the no-head
Barehead
pirates,
Luffy.
Barehead Luffy. Forehead Luffy.
Blackhead Luffy.
Then Ulti definitely has to join the crew.
Ulti definitely has to join the crew.
I mean, yeah.
If they become the forehead.
Oh,
forehead
true.
crew.
The best forehead in one.
And then
yeah, he ran foreheads.
And then, according to Ohara's Twitter, she kicked Zoro out of the monster trio. I love it.
Of course. Easy.
But Sanji
Easy.
gets to stay, controversially.
Easy. Yeah, of course.
weird,
I mean,
though.
Sanji is way stronger than Zoro after all.
Well,
I mean, all
obviously.
power scalers know
All
that.
of the evidence points towards that, you know?
Oh yeah, yeah. Just I mean, guys, look for the evidence. It's really literally right there. Like, wake up,
Yeah, like Sanji is
doesn't use his
clearly...
hands. He's been holding back literally the entire series.
wake up, sheeple. I'm getting pumped for my theory video dropping today. I'm getting in the mood.
in the mood for outrageous thoughts, I see.
Yeah, like I've been watching conspiracy theories the entire morning.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Sanji did 9/11.
Luke, that's not even the question, right? Like,
Is that
I
too
think that's
mainstream now?
proven. No, that's proven.
Oh, damn. I need to brush up on my conspiracies then.
Let's see what else we got.
Here's a question. I want Smoker. Full stop. Carrot and Marco to join the crew. Your thoughts?
You're right, it is full stop. So these are separate questions, right?
I don't even think that first bit is a question. I just think, like, what is his name? Vax
These are
Machina
just
want
statements.
Smoker. Yeah, I want Smoker.
The only question is your thoughts. Question.
Yes,
It's like
I
one
do
of those
believe that you
old-time
want him.
telegrams. I want Smoker. Dude, stop. Carrot and Marco to join the crew. Dude, stop. Your thoughts.
I think it's good that you want him.
We should answer the question though. I still think so.
Wait, what's the question though? If we what we think about him wanting him, or what we think about them joining?
I want Smoker. Your thoughts?
You're a naughty person, my man.
I like the idea of Smoker joining. You know I like the idea of Smoker joining. I still believe that. I think Carrot joining is looking more and more likely to me. I don't think Marco will join. I'm surprised some people want Marco to join. I don't know. I think some characters are just so... Like, I've seen people say, like, I want Aokiji to join. I'm like, do you know how insane that would be? If Aokiji
that'd
was
be nice,
walking
but...
around with straw hats?
That'd be nice.
It would be nice. It would make things really convenient.
And like Fujitora also, and maybe Kizaru joins.
Yeah, get all the
like
strong-
we laugh now, but then like, you know, Endgame One Piece, it's like
I mean, while Big Mom had amnesia, there was even the thought that, you know, Big Mom for Nakama, or Olin for Nakama.
okay, like
That would be
again, like going back to the Yamato thing, like obviously we know way too little about that character yet, but like I would be way more okay with like a Katakuri or a Yamato, like a son of a Yonko, that Luffy actually opposed. Like them joining the crew, I would be way more okay with that than a Yonko actually joining the crew.
No, Gecko Moria brings Whitebeard back to life, and Whitebeard joins the crew.
Yeah, Shadow Whitebeard.
Yeah, Shadowbeard. In regards to the actual question, though, I think the only one here who's reasonable in my mind is Carrot. And it's just because she has so much convenient evidence stacked up in her favor that I could see it happening. Smoker, I'm really interested to hear why you think Smoker would join the crew, actually. Because that is a thought that has never seriously crossed my mind.
Oh boy, it's my favorite theory that nobody agrees with. But that's not true. There's been somebody who's come on the Wano Report who has agreed. I literally don't remember.
Was it Matt B?
No, it was Kraftsdorf.
Oh, Kraftsdorf, yeah.
Kraftsdorf did. I was very happy about that. Quick version, basically. I think that Smoker's character arc from the start of... And this is obviously theoretical, but I just like the idea of it a lot, right? So, Smoker's character from the start of the story was basically... Like, in my mind, like, why is he in the story? I think okay, from the start, I think that a big theme in One Piece is basically the idea of like pirates and marines. That line is more fluid than you would think. These labels don't actually mean that much. You can have very different types of people on both sides.
Like
and
emperors.
like what one person calls justice, etc., etc. Like maybe there's more justice to be found on the other
very
side.
fine people on both sides. Yeah.
Yes, and I do think that's. I think that with Smoker, at the very least, he as a character is introduced basically as supposed to be the marine that hates pirates, like with a sort of absolute sense, right? He cares a lot about justice. His heart is in the right place, but like he's inserted in the series to be this marine that hates pirates with like a great passion, and he makes it his mission to hunt Luffy. And over the like literally every arc that it's him and Luffy, the development that he's getting more and more is kind of realizing that Luffy is not a bad guy, and at the same and realizing that Luffy actually everywhere Luffy goes, he's actually making things a lot better. While at the same time, every arc, Smoker is starting to realize that the world government is not truly the side of justice. Like each arc, his faith in the Marines and the world government goes down X%. His admiration for Luffy goes up X%, basically. And like we saw that Alabasta, Punk Hazard at the end of Dressrosa and stuff. And obviously right now we're still a far cry off from the idea of like, well, Smoker's gonna join the Straw Hats. That seems ridiculous, right? But then also stuff like...
It does.
Yes, yep. But then also stuff like Aokiji, for example. Like there was a scene with Aokiji and Smoker at the end of Punk Hazard where Aokiji, like Smoker's asking, there's some strange rumors about you. Aokiji's explaining that when you leave the Marines, there are certain things that become much more clear. And I think that arc, there was a lot of like, you know, this divide between pirates and Marines is not so big. Like that was referenced multiple times or whatever. So I do think that the hints are there, at least for the idea of Smoker potentially at least leaving the Marines. I think that's not too crazy to say. I could see him being back in the Marines by the end of the series, but I think that him leaving the Marines isn't too crazy to say. Now, the idea of him actually joining the Straw Hats seems pretty out there. But I do think that basically, especially with the world government talking about like a great cleansing or something they're going to do, I do think that there will be some big trigger event coming up that will wake up a lot of people. And I think Smoker could definitely be one of them. But yeah, again, the idea of him joining the Straw Hats seems like to be where people would draw the line, which is like, I think I could see Smoker leaving the Marines, but not actually becoming a pirate. Whereas I think that basically for Oda's full message to be made clear, it's very important that by the end of the series, Smoker actually does spend some time as a pirate for a period of time. Because I think that's the way that you get across this idea, if you really want to get it across, that, look, pirates and Marines, there's not that much of a difference. It's really just labels. You can do really good things as a pirate. And I do think that basically by the end of Wano, depending on what the Straw Hats do at the culmination of Wano, if Smoker's involved in any way or something like that, he might see that, like, you know, Straw Hats are being called the guys who are going to bring the dawn of the world or something like that. Depending on everything that they learn, I think it'd be very interesting if Smoker realizes that there's a better direction for the world if he joins that crew. So that's basically the long answer of it, but it is a weird theory, so I felt like I had to elaborate on it a lot.
Thanks for that. That was very interesting. I would posit, like, is the idea that you're describing not already being conveyed in Kuzan, who is now a pirate himself?
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that it is, but with Kuzan, we don't yet know if he, like, does he truly believe that Blackbeard's that, you know, what's his actual purpose for it? Some people say Kuzan is a revolutionary working, like, undercover or something like that. I think I do need something. Yeah. I personally need some confirmation, like, of what Kuzan's motivations are with this, basically. But I think it's more so that, like, one, if you're going to do this arc of a Marine becoming a pirate, it makes a little more sense to me for the author to have planned it to have been a Marine who ultimately becomes a Straw Hat, rather than a Marine introduced much later in the story who's a bit more peripheral, becoming, you know, like a ally of a character who we at least view as like a bad guy, basically. And I don't know, I think that that's just Smoker's character arc, to me, has at least been that, like, introducing a guy who really hates pirates, who makes it his mission to hunt Luffy, and then every single time he's in the story, it's like swinging a little bit more this way, a little less that way, each time. Luffy even considers him a bit of a friend at this point. I still think we're pretty much several steps away from Smoker becoming a Straw Hat, but I just view it as such an exciting possibility that I really like the idea. That's it.
It's interesting, and it does bring up something that I really wanted to see more of in One Piece, which was Marines becoming pirates, because I feel like we have a lot of that the other way around. Pirates becoming Marines, mostly minor characters, but still. And so it was actually kind of disappointing when Drake was revealed, like, oh, he's not really a pirate, and I'm like, just give me one.
Yeah, I think if you guys are okay with it, I think this is a good point to call it a day.
Sure.
Yeah.
I actually still got to be productive today, so I apologize.
As you should. As you should.
As I should, as I always do. And thanks so much for listening. I think this was a wonderful episode as always. It's always a pleasure having you on, Liam. Even though it's only been 2 times now.
No, it's been a pleasure to be on the Wano Report 100% of times I've done it, so that's a pretty good ratio.
That's very 2 out of 2.
2 for 2.
2 for 2.
That's pretty good. So yeah, it's good. It's good to have you be a regular guest for sure. Otherwise, anything else we have to discuss or point out?
Look out for the new animation next week. It will look very nice.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll probably won't be able to organize it in time, and then it'll be the one. As always.
Oh, come on!
Early promises.
We can dream.
Hopefully. Yeah. Otherwise, as always, make sure obviously to check out Liam's channels. They're linked in the description below, as well as all of our Twitter. And yeah, we're excited to have you guys on listening next time as well. So all the best. Bye bye.